Whoa, look at this.
All right, we are live. Smarter than you. I think we're on time. We're like right at the end of the 30-minute mark, right? So I will consider us on in a timely fashion. Adam Hill live from T-Mobile, which has been the usual spot. I'm live from home and an empty home, Adam Hill. An empty home. Just me and the cat, baby.
How nice is that?
So it's nice and it's not. To be to be cheesy. Obviously, I miss Isabel and my son because they are. I live with them. They're with me every single day, so it's kind of weird to have the house quiet. But it's also kind of cool, just that got to watch all the games that I wanted to today, largely uninterrupted. Got a lot of work done. Have a lot of work to do over the next couple of days, all that kind of stuff. So, from a professional perspective, it's actually kind of cool.
How were you emotionally during the games? Did you have money invested and have to sweat it out? It was right down to the wire in both games.
Yeah, the only game that I had money on was Baylor. I laid 7.5 with Baylor, so that was a small roller coaster of emotions, mainly because they opened. What was it? It was an 18-point lead, I think, at one point in the first half. Feel really good about it. Then Arkansas cuts it to 4 in the second half, and that's when I started to get. I was like, all right. Let's run something other than a Mitchell ISO and have him beat a guy off of his dribble and let's get a little imaginative. But it worked out, and Baylor ultimately got away with it. So you know what?
Funny,
I'm happy.
I actually thought there was a stretch where they were running Mitchell ISOs and it was working, and then they stopped.
Yeah,
I was like, why'd you stop? It was working. It seemed like that was the right way to go. I had minus 6.5 plus 15.5, so I had a very large middle there. I still was worried down to the end, but really the final 2 minutes, it was going from 11 to 8. There was no real jeopardy either way.
Dude, and what the fuck was Muss doing? So for those who didn't maybe see it in detail or watch the entire thing, Baylor is up by 11 points, and I'll get the official times. He lets 16 seconds run off the clock down the stretch, and then he lets another 10 run off the clock before he fouls. What the hell were they doing?
I think they were going for steals, and they also but it was weird because Baylor, the biggest question mark they have is free throw shooting. Right. Now they did have by far their best free throw shooter on the floor, and they were doing a really good job of keeping the ball in his hand. And I think one of the things they were saying was, "Hey, don't foul him." But at some point, you just got to foul. You just got to okay, well, we got to go foul because you got to foul somebody. You can't just let the game play out. And I was trying to find out. Adam Flagler was 84.6% on the season. The rest of the team is very, very average to below average, including Mitchell went 0 for 3 today. But Flagler went 4 for 4 in the final minute. And that's how you put games away. You get the ball in the hands of your best free throw shooter, which you don't see often enough. Very often, you just see teams put it in the hands of their best ball handler. Give it the guy that can shoot free throws. Now, it's nice when they're the same person.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you're like, why is the ball not in the hands of the guy that shoots 90% and the guy that's 62% has the ball? It just doesn't make any sense. But Baylor did a good job there.
By the way, there's this kid on Baylor. I think they call him JTT.
Shamwa Chachua?
I think he looks pretty good. He looks pretty familiar. Have you ever seen him play?
I feel like I have. I don't remember where.
JTT 8 points, 6 rebounds was freaking great. He was. In college hoops as much as I like to play the game. I do enjoy watching college hoops, but I like those kind of games where it's just 8.6 rebounds and on the stats sheet it doesn't look like much, but when you actually watch what he did, it was insanely impactful.
But John, when he left UNLV, it was a big who cares.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember? It was what did he do? Who cares? Okay.
Right.
Well, you're going to care because it was amazing when everybody was oh, who cares that these guys are leaving? And they all end up at he ended up there. All these guys ended up at really good schools. Now,
legitimate programs. Yeah.
It didn't work out for all of them, but they all ended up at pretty legitimate programs. And, you even have, different players going on to find success other places. I know even Dwayne Morgan, who couldn't stay here for other reasons, but Dwayne Morgan goes and has a pretty good career at Southern Utah. There was a lot of talent that was in this program and has done well elsewhere.
So Baylor beats Arkansas 81-72. Sports betting angle, of course, is the fact that Baylor ends up covering that number and game goes over the total. Houston, Oregon State was freaking nuts. Beavers down 31-17 at halftime. Tie the game 55-all with 3:48 left to go. So
okay, let me cut you off here because yes, you're going to get to it goes down to the wire. But this is an argument that I was just having earlier tonight with somebody, and then I started to just as our friend Willie Ramirez, who I think might be listening now, was leaving, and I was kind of talking about it, like what side is the bad beat? Like yes, Houston was in control, but like with 3 minutes left, it's a tie game. So I would argue that if Oregon State didn't cover, that was a bad beat against Oregon State.
I thought that's what it was.
Well, a lot of people are like, oh, Houston led the whole way, and then they were up 9 in the final 10 seconds, and Oregon State hit a 3
right
after a couple missed free throws. Which I will say, I had a very, 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 very significant investment in Oregon State in this game, and when they called that intentional foul, which listen, it was the right call, but when they called it, I like punched the table. Things went flying here in the press box. It was not a pretty sight. Not a pretty sight at all.
Yeah, I don't want to say there's no question, but I think from the angle of like bad beat, it's clearly the Oregon State side that would have been the bad beat had they not covered.
I thought so too.
I mean, like a tie game, I get it, 31-17, but I mean, they cut into that deficit really quickly in the second half, and they came back and tied it. So I would say 100% you're catching 8 with Oregon. You're feeling great down the stretch. And it's funny because I saw a lot of that, and my initial thought was Houston would have been, but then I thought about it. I was like, no, you can't blow a lead like that, especially with so much time left. And in a game like this, right, where it's a little slow-paced and clunky, like with 3:48 tied all, like if you can't cover 8 in that kind of a situation, that's fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Also brutal, by the way. And you watch college hoops much more than I do.
Yeah. The officiating?
No, well, that's a fucking nightmare. We could talk about that. What's the inability to play against any zone defense? Tinkle just decides, let's slap on a 1-3-1 and see what happens. And Houston just collapses. It's just kicking it around the top of the key, absolutely nothing, and either a bad 3-point shot with nothing left on the shot clock or a turnover. I think they committed 6 turnovers in the second half, if memory serves correctly. What the fuck was that? Well,
and also like the thing that really mystifies me in cases like that, because you're right, like zones, especially unexpected zones, and Oregon State was throwing, like, I will give credit to what Oregon State was doing was a really complex defense. It didn't look like it, but they were 1-3-1ing, and then they were manning the ball and sometimes manning like the next pass. It was a pretty complex defense they were playing, but they were confused most times on the floor. And then I think they were going some possessions. They were going zone until like the third pass and then switching to man. And that was really screwing up Houston because they would get in a zone offense and then they'd switch to man-to-man and they'd have no idea what they were doing. But like the couple of times that it was like a true 1-3-1, Houston was totally lost. And then they finally figured out to put Grimes in the corner and throw a skip pass to the corner. And he was just standing by himself and made a 3. And then they didn't do it for like 5 possessions. Like, what you saw, that's the vulnerability of the 1-3-1, especially the way that Oregon State was playing. Why would you not continue to go to the corner? And you can't obviously just work it to the corner because they rotate. But if you throw the skip pass, there's literally nobody on that side of the floor. Just throw the skip pass to the corner and he's wide open. And you're comfortable with that shot, a corner 3 for Grimes on that, against that defense. You'll take that all day. And the one time they did it, it worked. And then they went away from it. It doesn't make sense. But I think there is a lot of ability to really throw guys off with by changing defense and throwing junk defenses and exotic defenses at them. And I'm sure Baylor was watching. Although the Baylor Houston game, to me, like, as good of a game it is, as fun as it is, that's almost like I wish that was just a street game.
Yeah,
like I don't want offenses, I don't want defenses, I don't want refs. Like, just go throw the ball and go play on a playground would be awesome. That would be such a fun game to watch.
If I were to tell you, and this is why it's so brutal, and why Houston, what they do so well is incredible. Oregon State, in losing 67-61, shot 46% from the floor, 37% from beyond the arc, but they missed 9 free throws and they gave up
offensive rebounds.
19 offensive rebounds. Yeah. They could not grab a board to save their life. And look, Houston gets credit because that's absolutely incredible. The way they're dynamic athletes who are insanely springy and can just grab almost every miss. But the rebounds at times it was getting a little ludicrous.
Yes, correct. But also like part of it is the zone, but they weren't
Yeah.
playing a zone the whole way. I mean, part of it was just they were just going to get it, and like there is, you know, I think often you're looking for referees to bail you out because they do all season, and bailing out isn't even the right word. Like you've come to expect most of the season that if you're boxing somebody out and they go rebound over you, it's going to be a foul. And like, okay, we'll just box out, don't get the rebound, they take the ball, it's a foul. And all of a sudden today it was like, no, you're allowed to knock somebody down, rip their head off, and then grab the rebound. And like, I think Oregon State was looking around like, what the fuck is like, what is this? Like, well, you can't just take us down and get the ball, but that's what they were allowing. So it was like, okay, but then the referees get caught up, and I saw somebody saying referees in the college game are just reffing the score, which they totally are. Like that's why it's been pretty profitable for the most part, with the rare exception of like the USC Kansas game, which just got ugly.
Mhm.
But for the most part, a team goes down like 16, 17 points, you start betting back the other side. And I know that's a strategy a lot of people use anyway, but it's really been the officials have just been getting teams back in the game, or at least allowing them to get back in the game. So that's kind of worked out pretty well. And you see it, calls start to go there, and there's no such thing as a block, I think, in the history of the world anymore in college basketball. And if it's a charge, it has to be the 5 steps and emphatically point the other way charge. Like what is what are we doing? Come on.
The over officiating, and that's like, look, I like to play the heel role a little bit and get into the quality of play college hoops, but the over officiating of NCAA like refs is absolutely insane. It's everything. You can't even. There's just like I can't even think of a specific play, but just the ticky-tack nature of any little bit of contact below the rim, whether it is a post-up, anything like that, it's insane how often these guys get involved. And I forgot, because look, I'll be forthright. I've told you guys, I haven't watched that much college hoops this year because of the new rollover of ESID. So it's been like diving feet first, right, once March started. And I was like watching these conference tournaments and watching the NCAA tournament. It's like, holy shit, these guys they love blowing the whistle. It's almost like high school games where you tell the refs, hey, I want to teach my guys not to foul. So blow, like whistle for everything. And it's like almost the same thing. It's insane.
But if it would be, I'd be fine with that if it was consistent, because I've seen people say the same thing. But it's not like you'll have games where nothing is a foul for the first half, and then everything's a foul in the second half, or nothing's a foul at all until one team's down 12, then everything's a foul on the other team. Like it's not consistent. And I know you can't call every foul every time, because like it's going to be ridiculous. It's going to be just 100 free throws, and there's going to be no flow. Everybody's going to foul out. But like if you're going to call it that close, then call it that close. But don't like switch up how you're calling it during a game. Because like I said, Houston, like there was times in the first half where they were allowed to murder guys and get a rebound, and it was fine. And then in the second half, they weren't even allowed to box out. And you're like, well, wait, what? Like just because they're ahead, now they're not allowed to do anything. But in the first half, you were letting them, pillage, rape and pillage out there. It's ridiculous. It's so inconsistent. But like the biggest thing to me is really the block charge, and it's been a problem for a long time, and people complained about it, and it's not even worth really complaining that much about it, because there's nothing they can do, and they have no idea. The game moves so fast. Guys are moving so fast. They're jumping so high. Like it's impossible for them to tell. But it's amazing how they get it wrong like every time.
Well, you have a better memory. You have a better memory than I do. There was a late. Was it a non-call at the end of UCLA Alabama regulation? There's a pretty big non-call on a charge. I think it was on UCLA, where they went down, and I think Tiger Campbell gave up a pass and just obliterated the guy in front of him.
Yeah. Which I don't really want those called charges.
Right.
Like, because as you said, he threw the pass. That was the biggest play of the game. He threw the pass and then ran over the defender to clear out space for a layup. And like, I don't want those called, like after you pass the ball, I don't want a guy drawing a charge after the ball's already out of your hand.
But that's a charge in the first half.
That's a charge. 99% of plays that I've ever seen in college basketball,
right,
they call that a charge. Like I said, I want that rule out. I don't want that to be a charge, but you can't call it all the time. And then with the season on the line, you're like, no, we're gonna let that go. And I guarantee some fucking moron somewhere will be like, oh, game's on the line, let him play, bro. Like letting him play is. I understand as a defender that if I stand there and draw this charge, it's our ball. That's how it's been for my entire collegiate career. All I have to do is stand here, let the guy run over me, and it's our ball. That's me playing the game. That's how you play. You play the game based on how it's always played, and then it doesn't count. Like it's amazing and baffling to me, and it like drives me nuts as much as I love college basketball, and I'll always love college basketball. And it's such a great sport. And it's so fun, and the tournament is such an amazing event. I'll defend college forever, but like, god damn, that fucking pisses me off. And I know it pisses a lot of people off, a lot of other people too. I mean, I know people that like you that only watch it once a year, not once, but during the tournament is really all you're watching it. You're like, well, this sucks. This is annoying, and it is.
So now we have the matchup set. Baylor opens 4.5 total, 134 over Houston. This stat from Stat by Stats. After today's win, Baylor men's basketball now has a plus 40 turnover margin in the NCAA tournament. It's the best turnover margin by any team over its first 4 NCAA tournament games since Kentucky was plus 42 in 1996. And, of course, they won on their way to the title. So, initial thoughts here, Baylor-Houston. I will say I saw a good chunk saying, Baylor better perform better than that game against Houston. I was like, did we watch the second half against Oregon State?
Yeah.
Because so you tell me, because when I watch Houston, and the two differences when I watch Baylor and when I watch Houston, Baylor obviously has guys like Mitchell who can consistently create off the dribble, right, and create open looks for guys. There was one, it was right after I sent out a tweet about the Mitchell ISOs, where he just, again, gets a guy in the front court switched onto him. He clears everybody out, drives by him, and then kicks it in the corner for a dagger three. When I watch Houston play, and again, this second half isn't very, it's fresh in my mind. I get it. So this is why I'm asking you. I don't see a lot of offensive creation. I see a lot of almost, to use a hockey equivalent, since you're in there, maybe this is not an accurate one, almost like a dump and chase type deal, right? Where it's just chuck it up, get a board, and then put it back up. And I just don't know if that works against Baylor.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. Well, and here's the thing, and I think it's kind of what you're saying. But Houston, I don't understand. Like Houston's adjusted offensive efficiency is like top 5. It might be 5 or 6 in the country. And like you watch them, and you're like, this team does not. They don't play offense. They don't run offense.
There's
like
no sets.
They throw the ball at the rim, and either hopefully if they're on fire, then it goes in. If not, they try to get the rebound and go score, as you were saying. But like, I could be wrong, because like I actually really like Baylor in this spot. Like first thoughts, could probably change a lot with all the discussions I'm going to have over the next week. But I really like Baylor in this spot right now, because my thought is, like, you ain't doing that against Baylor. Like, as I think Steve said today, like they just have dudes. Like that's the old like cliche, but they do. Like you're not going to push them around.
The football video, the coach. What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
Yeah. But like we can look at all the numbers, we can talk about all the numbers, and like that's how we like to break down games. But I think sometimes you have to just like kind of look and say, oh, it's up to 5 almost everywhere. Yep. Sometimes you just have to like look at it and say, okay, what they do as a team is not going to work as well as it has against other teams. Like they're not just going to be pushing guys around. They're not going to be, as I said, they were just knocking Oregon State around and grabbing the ball and scoring it earlier today. I don't think you're doing that to Baylor. Like, I just don't. I just look at those guys and I'm like, I don't think you're going to be able to do that. So as good as Houston is, and the reason that a lot of analytics guys, a lot of numbers guys, like that we know, a lot of hardcore bettors love this team and were on this team throughout much of the tournament, was because their offensive and defensive efficiency numbers are both so good. I think they're top 6 in both in KenPom, which is really impressive. I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. I don't see what they do well working against what Baylor does well. And there you go. Get the KenPom right there.
118. So Houston 8th and the 6th right now. I would assume that as after tonight. So
so top 10 in both, I guess they are. And most of the teams that are like what Gonzaga's 1st and 7th, like they're top 8 in both. But yeah, I think I just don't think what the matchup. I don't think the matchup works well for Houston. And by the way, Houston, look at their path to get here.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't played a single-digit seed, right?
I believe so, right? I think so. Let's double check. You would know better than I would, but let's check the bracket. We'll also just take a look at my bracket because apparently I'm at 96%, but that doesn't make any sense because I don't think I'm at 96%.
Yeah, they played Cleveland State, which is 15.
Right.
Rutgers was a 10, right?
Right. Yeah.
And Syracuse was an 11. And Oregon State was a 12.
It's a very astute observation by you.
Yeah. And so, and listen, Oregon State was playing better.
15, 10, 11. Oop. Might have lost Adam. Adam frozen.
You came in hot. I'm frozen?
No, you cut out for a second. You're back, though. Continue your point.
Yeah, I mean, those teams are overplaying their seed, but, that was a fair here to make it this far. So, I'm not overly impressed with what they've done, and they could have very easily been gone against Rutgers.
Mm-hmm.
They were down 9 with like 3.5 minutes. So, sorry if Steve's here to bring that up again, but
he's somewhere.
Yeah. So I don't know. As good as Houston's numbers have looked, and as much as I've liked that team at times this year, I think Baylor has been more tested. I think Baylor matches up well with them. I think Baylor is kind of too strong at the different positions, and Houston's a good team, but I like. No, I don't think the horn went. I just I like Baylor in this game, and again, that could change between now and then. But as of right now, that's the way I'll be leaning. And oh man, we've got matchups tomorrow. I think we're on the same side of at least one of the games.
Oh yeah.
So we can talk about that. I like USC.
Really quickly before we move on.
Mm-hmm.
Westgate's total's 136.5. That seems kind of high. It's the highest one on the board right now.
For Baylor Houston?
Baylor Houston, yeah.
Yeah. I would lean under. God, man. The live betting, I said I middled that game. I had such a nice middle on that, 6.5 and 15.5. So that was nice. But the total too. I got it under 170.
Jeez.
Because in the first half, there was like a stretch where it was just like back and forth and back and forth. It was crazy. And the line just kept going up and up and up. And I was like, all right, it's going to slow down. Literally, right after I bet it, there was a 208 stretch with no points. I was like, all right, that was a ridiculous line move to move it up that high. So there is opportunities. And I talked about earlier, it's down to 8.5.
Yep. So I took 9 today with USC. And I think that's the side you're alluding to that you and I are both potentially in agreement on.
I don't have the option. Like I can't shop for the best number.
Well, because you're in. Well, I mean, because you're talking about your last man standing.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, you can shop for the number and bet it yourself, but
right. But I mean, for the
right
game, the pick that I'm most invested in right now. I was hoping it would stay 9, so they'd have to make the decision to put it 8.5 or 9.5. And I thought they were going to go 9.5. But if it's trending toward 8.5, most places it's probably going to be 8.5 on the contest. So my other option.
Well, do they give you hooks? Wouldn't it be 8.5 anyway? Do they give you flat numbers like that?
They'll never make it a whole number because it's either win or lose.
Right. So you were looking at 9.5 or 8.5, right?
So if it was sitting 9, if it was a flat 9 everywhere, I think they would have gone 9.5. But since it's gone 8.5 a couple places, I have to imagine they're going to make it 8.5 in the contest.
Right.
So that's my pick. That's the game I like the best. But if it's 8.5, I'm going to have to think about it. My other option, and I know this is something me and Steve have talked a lot about in the past with different scenarios. Do I just take UCLA to hedge off my emotional spot and say either UCLA, either Michigan wins big and I'm happy about that, which I wouldn't really be because I'd have lost, or UCLA wins and I'm happy about that, or ideally in a perfect world, Michigan wins by between 1 and 6 and I get both. I don't know.
Fuck that. Go with the smartest one, USC.
But if USC's 8.5 isn't the smartest one.
I mean, it's not the best number, but you tell me, is 9 an extremely key number? That's obviously the most value, but in a contest, right, you're not losing value per se against the field that you're playing.
Sure.
It's not like you have 8.5 and others have 9.
Yeah. Do you remember at the beginning of this contest the discussion we had about Loyola? How many entries do you put on Loyola? I think we talked about that. So the contest number was 2.5 and the real world number was 5.5.
Right. Oh, okay, yeah.
I said, how many? If you have 5 entries, how many do you put on Loyola? and it was you could do like 2 or 3 was I think ideal, or do you go 0, hope everybody in the contest picks Loyola and you're the only one that advances, or or I don't know. I didn't know what to do. I think I did 3 is what I ended up doing. But yeah, there's a time early in the tournament where you could do that with good numbers, but I think you're right here. You just got to go. There's only 4 options, and hope. I don't know. Maybe 8.5 is better, and it'll get people off of USC. And then if USC wins, a lot of people will get eliminated on Gonzaga and other teams.
Yeah,
that's the hope. I'd like to see how many it's down to. I think it was 38 today. So that's a question from Pro Martini maker there. Yeah, I think it was 38 were available today or left today, and you would assume about half. So between 16 to 22 are probably left.
Yeah. So these are my notes for the show tomorrow. I am filling in on Lombardi line if anybody is wondering on VSiN tomorrow morning. So this is my thing, and I brought this up with you and Steve on the phone today when you guys had me on. So I think USC's been pretty undervalued, right? And you can see some of the numbers, right? The Drake game, huh?
I was saying hi to the comments. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So like the Drake game, laying 8.5, you cover by 7.5. Kansas, you laying 1, you cover by 33. Oregon, the Oregon game. The Oregon game was weird because they beat the shit out of them in the first matchup, and one of the Mobley brothers was missing. Were they not?
Yeah.
And then you get them both on the floor, and then you only close 2, and they cover that by 12. But this is a team. So like one of the things that I was looking at is this number right. Where was I at? Oh, okay. So if you look at it from a size perspective, right, and these are just the starting lineups, you talk about 6'10", 6'7", 6'4", 6'5", and 6'5" for Gonzaga. You got 7 foot, 6'10", 6'8", 6'7", and then 6'2" starting for USC. But how about this? Over the last 11 games, opponents are shooting 50.1% on 2-pointers against Gonzaga. Like they've been relatively, I don't want to call them soft, but they've been average to below average on the interior over the last 11 games. To me, that's a large enough sample size as well. Like there's a lot USC can do in this matchup, can they not?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think they'll be able to score. I also feel like, what's up, Carterback? I also feel like the point about the size that you make there has been kind of what I've been talking about, in that I think Gonzaga's ability to just knock down jumpers all day, which is what they do, is going to be hampered by the fact that USC is tall enough to cause them trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Now, listen, you're making a case here against one of the best teams I've seen
right.
in Gonzaga, but I think there's opportunities there to exploit them. I also listen. You're taking less than 10 points against a team that hasn't won a game by less than 10 all year, except one game was less. I think they won by 6 early in the year, and somebody. Mm-hmm. Every other game's been double figures. They haven't. Nobody's been able to stay within this number. They haven't had any close games. They haven't had any sweats at all, which could work both ways. I mean, I think you could say, "Hey, look, they're so good that it's just nobody can stay within that those points," or you could just say they haven't been tested, and if they get tested, maybe they panic a little bit, and they're not great. But like even BYU was incredible on offense in the West Coast Conference Championship game against Gonzaga. And eventually they just stopped making shots, and Gonzaga made a whole bunch, and they ended up winning by 10 or 11 points or whatever it was at the end when they were down most of the game. Like they just have that ability. Like they'll just keep scoring, and if you have a letdown, they're going to get you. But I feel like USC will be able to really defend and at least bother Gonzaga. And I do think USC is going to be able to score. I don't think Gonzaga is that great defensively. So I like the matchup. I don't know that USC wins, but I think it's close. I do think it's close.
This is what bothered me. I still like USC, and I already took +9, so I'm in. So this is what bothered me though about looking up some of the matchups. You always got to look at both sides, Adam, especially when you're hosting a show, right? You got to paint the picture for both sides. Gonzaga, as we know, shoots the ball really well, right? Over a third of their shots come from 3-point range. They shoot 37% as a team. If you go over USC's losses, the 7 losses, their opponents shot 46% from 3. They combined 62 of 134. Now, here's an interesting thing, though. 3 of their losses, of course, were to Colorado, but Colorado's a damn good 3-point shooting team.
Yeah.
And so, like you're talking about, look at their last 3 losses. I have this note right here for USC. Last 3 losses, Colorado, Utah, and Colorado combined 33 of 61 from deep. That's bad. And that's kind of troublesome when you talk about a team like Gonzaga who can shoot as well as they can. Now, I was surprised when I was looking over their roster that an overwhelming majority of their three-point shooting comes from 2 guys, right? Was it the IA and Kispert, both 2 really good shooters, and that's about it. Suggs is going to take shots, but he's not an efficient shooter. So that does make me feel like, well, if it's coming from 2 guys defensively, USC should have an easier time closing out on 2 guys if it's the 2 true threats that Gonzaga has,
Yeah, I think that's a tremendous breakdown. And I think you get, you point out the numbers there of what happened in their losses. If Gonzaga just shoots their normal percentage,
right,
I think USC is okay. Like the danger is if they shoot over their percentage, and outperform themselves. Now I think, these arenas aren't great shooting backdrops. You've seen a lot of unders. You can hope maybe they don't light it up for 46, 47% as you said were in USC's losses. That's what their opponent shot against them. But like you're pointing out there, just if you're taking USC and you're trying to make the case for USC, you just want Gonzaga to do what they normally do. Like, don't do better than
right.
that. No, I'm talking about from 3, not as a team. As a team,
Yeah.
You want them to do worse than usual. But if you just keep them to what they normally do, I think USC is going to be okay. But I say that, and then you're going to see Gonzaga come out and shoot like 58% from 3, and run them out. But I don't think that's going to happen. I do think somebody's going to test Gonzaga, and Gonzaga is going to listen. I think they win. Like I said, I think they win the game, but I think it could be fairly close.
They're just show notes. LB Pickle Gamer. It's just show notes. It's what we do. We're pros.
I also feel like I'm kind of going to the well too often. Because in this contest with making a pick a day, I had USC against Kansas and I had USC against Oregon.
But who cares? Like I said, this is clearly a team that's been undervalued by the market. Like clearly, it's nuts how I don't want to say little respect, but I don't have a better term, so we'll just say how little respect the Trojans have gotten at the window. Like I said, like again, I have not watched. I usually watch college hoops every season. This is not a year that I have. But to see what they did in the first matchup against Oregon, just from, again, I'm just perusing box scores and reading data, looking at that, realizing one of their better players was not on the floor, and then looking at the number against Oregon, it was like, what's happening here? They should have opened as a 2-point favorite probably and closed in the range of about 4. And given the matchup, and people will say hindsight, but I think that's relatively surprising. But we'll see. And look, like you said, like it's not going to be a Kansas night where I think they made 21, 22 3-point shots. But just the gravitational pull of those guys, especially Mobley, inside, to what that does for your shooters on the perimeter, and Gonzaga being somewhat small in stature. And I mean, you tell me, when you're looking at some of the bigger guys on this roster for them, when you're talking about Timmy and Kispert, how are they out in space? Like, because I always confuse the 2 Mobley brothers. One of them's a 47% 3-point shooter that you're going to have to close out on,
Yeah, you're right. I mean, defensively, I haven't been impressed at all with Gonzaga. I know their numbers are fine. Exactly.
Full sacks by 20.
But I mean, I know their efficiency numbers are fine, and they play defense. They just don't. I don't think they they're going to pound the floor and play defense for 40 minutes. That's just not the kind of team they are. And if you can, I think if you can pop them in the mouth a little bit and wear them down, I think that. That'll affect them on the offensive end too. I think, all their guys they can all handle it. They can all shoot it. Offensively, they're a nightmare. If you're betting against them, every time they have the ball, you're like, oh, fuck.
Yep.
They're going to score. But I think what USC could do is, like you said, pound them inside, the inside-outside with the Mobleys when they were going, I think they were going Isaiah in the high post, Evan in the low post, and just having him dump down. If they can work that a couple times, if they can make them work defensively and really just get it inside and score points and frustrate them on the defensive end, I think that could affect their offense. And I think that's where you start to have some hope if you bet USC. But again, like I will be panicking the whole game because I will be on USC. I will be betting USC, and I'll be.
Where are you watching the games tomorrow? Where are you watching the games?
Should we go somewhere? I'll go somewhere. Oh, you're off.
I was gonna say, let's go. Let's be friends.
Start throwing stuff. Just tossing things all over the place. We'll see. Oh man, Yeah, I mean Gonzaga's great, but they also listen. They've only been playing well until the tournament, and they haven't really faced anybody great. But they've only been playing West Coast Conference teams for 3 months now.
So that one out of the way. We both like USC. Your boys. Can I just say this? The nerdy basketball aspect really quickly, and I tweeted it out over the weekend. The clinic on what to do offensively when your opponent switches everything that Michigan ran against Florida State. Holy shit, dude. That was so good. Slipping almost every screen you're slipping, and if you do, and if they react fine, all right, that's good. We'll just hunt a mismatch, whether it's a big on a guard out on the perimeter or a big on a guard in the interior for us. That was such a good game, X's and O's wise, for Michigan against Florida State. I couldn't stop watching. Like, I was amazed by the way they were operating offensively.
Yeah, I mean they're a really good offensive team, and actually have been good defensively for most of the year. I know they're top 10 adjusted defense going into the tournament, and they're still there now. They've been good on the defensive end, but they also have so much. They also have so much talent, and it just sucks that Livers isn't there because they could be so much better. But here's the thing, and I've been I've given Juwan Howard credit for a lot of. I thought that hiring a veteran college coach like Phil Martelli was really, really smart to have him around and to kind of lean on him for the college game and everything else that goes on there. But I thought Juwan was more just face of the program and just kind of letting other guys do the work, all those other things. But you could tell, and as you're pointing out, and I think it's why you got so excited about Michigan, you can absolutely tell the NBA influence.
Yep.
They run an NBA offense. And so I think that's where they kind of stand apart a little bit with what they're able to do. And they've got guys all over the floor that can shoot it. They spread the floor. They operate really well, and you can tell on inbounds plays. You can tell on sets. You can tell, as you said, by how they spread people out, how they really work screens and make teams defend them. And college kids they're not able to kind of process what they're doing and adjust to it. They do a lot of really good things, and I think a lot of that comes from the Juwan Howard NBA influence.
Does that look better? Let's zoom in.
Look at that.
Look at that, huh? This is a preview of what you get for Ken Palm. It's totally worth it.
Oh, how great is it? I love that site.
So, all right, where do we start? I think so. We start. I think obviously UCLA offensively. It has been. I've been very surprised with how effective UCLA has been offensively for the most part. Right, they slowed down a little bit against Alabama. It got a little gritty in the second half, but still, for the most part, you're looking at it, right? Like UCLA, I think I wrote this down. So all four of their opponents inside 44th in defensive efficiency. Last three, BYU, AC, and Alabama, all top 30. Alabama was second in defensive efficiency. Average offensive rating for the Bruins has been 114.5. They've actually been really solid on offense. Now, I watch both of these teams a lot, and full disclosure, I have UCLA at 75-1 to win the title, so I am rooting very much for the Bruins, but watching them up close during this tournament run, I don't know what they could do against Michigan defensively because and they got really good players. I like watching this team play a lot. When you're looking at kids like Juzang and Jaquez, two really intense. Huh?
Yeah,
right. Yeah. But they're fun to watch, and it's funny watching Juzang. It's fun watching Juzang down the stretch, just get the ball and their go-to guy. But I just don't know if you can operate at that level against Michigan defensively.
It's amazing. I know before the tournament we were discussing UCLA, and I didn't think they'd be able to make this run because they don't play defense. Yep. I mean, they try, but they're not good on the defensive end. And I know what I said about them before the tournament is they're not a Mick Cronin team. Mick Cronin teams for so long have been beat the hell out of you on the defensive end, wear you down, and then turn defense into offense just by kind of their sheer will and aggressiveness and finding baskets out of their defense. That's not what this team is. This team can score. They're really good offensively, but they just don't play that Mick Cronin style defense. And as you said, that's what the big question. I think they'll be able to score with Michigan, even though Michigan's good defensively. I just don't know that they're going to be able to defend them very well at all. And I've been pessimistic about Michigan's chances without Livers, but they have far exceeded what I thought they could do in this tournament. And I think that, this is why, like I didn't even really look at UCLA much in terms of my play that I have to make for tomorrow, like because I just thought Michigan offensively it might just be too good, and I don't know that UCLA has an answer. Now, Mick Cronin's, as much as I don't like to say it, and I hate him, he's a really good defensive coach. He doesn't really have the guys this year that are good defenders, but he might be able to come up with a plan. But I don't like he only had 1 day to do it. If it was a 4-day break or 5-day break, whatever, and they'd be able to go, they'd be able to prepare for him a little bit better. I would think it was different, but I just think Michigan has too much offense, and I don't know what the answer is going to be for UCLA on the defensive end.
Yeah, now that it's down to 6.5, some spots, a lot of spots open at 7.5. The 6.5 seems like the side to be on. So I haven't played it yet, but if I was going to, I would play the Michigan 6.5 side. So maybe I'm just being actually Steve is not producing, Connor. I am.
Oh, look at you.
That's right. Doing everything. I think Steve would pull up Ken Palm lickety split like that. Come on.
That's good. So we want to see the ring. I got a bunch of stuff attached here, but I can
let's see what you can pull off. Everybody wants to see the ring.
Can you see it?
Ring. Tilt it down a little bit more. There we go. Look at that. What a view. What a view.
Huh?
Life of the rich and the famous.
It's a nightclub up here. Can you see that?
I just see a little. Oh, yeah. Okay. I see it.
Sorry.
Look at that.
We're back.
These are the kind of luxurious places in which Adam broadcasts from.
Very high up, though.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're both in agreement on USC. Sounds like you didn't have anything insanely strong on the other one, but you also have an emotional connection there. So.
I'm obviously a Michigan fan. I'll be cheering for Michigan. Although if I'm with you, I'll have to cheer for your UCLA.
Well, that's not a very good sign. Oh, there he is. There he is. He's back.
I'm back.
Yeah. You're back.
For those saying nice seats and pointing out it's the nosebleeds, it is the press box. That's where I'm sitting right now. So
yeah,
this is where we sit.
Pro Martini maker, nice seats. Yep, that's what happens, right? Connected, famous, just like that.
I'm here to work.
So, yeah. All right, a couple other topics before you get kicked out of the press box. First off, I wanted to throw this up because this caught my eye, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it as well. Tyler Bischoff tweeted out a little bit of a snippet from Mike Grimala's piece on the Las Vegas Sun. According to a source, Otzelberger soured on David Jenkins during the course of the 2020-2021 season. Midway through the campaign, Otzelberger summoned Jenkins to a one-on-one meeting in which the coach told Jenkins he would not have a place on the UNLV roster in 2021-2022. According to the source, Otzelberger told Jenkins he did not enjoy coaching him anymore. It's an interesting tact from a coach in the midst of a season. I don't want you here next year. And by the way, I don't enjoy coaching you anymore either.
Well, and we should also point out David Jenkins tonight has entered the transfer portal. Not that it matters because, T.J. Otzelberger is not here anymore, but his staff is still here. So if there was an issue, that might be difficult for the staff to re-recruit David Jenkins to come back here. Otzelberger, I would have thought might be looking at him to bring to Iowa State, but this would
doesn't seem like it.
Eliminate that. It's actually not surprising. In that, I mean, it's surprising that it was that open that he would actually tell him.
Well, it's the last line is surprising, right? You can deliver all of the initial information.
I don't enjoy coaching you anymore.
Right. It seems like you can leave that part out, right? Like, do you think it was like, was Jenkins like, was his hand on the door and like, Oz was like, oh, hey, wait, hold on, really quickly, one more thing. I really don't enjoy coaching you anymore. Like, it feels like that's a really optional thing to do in this kind of a meeting.
And he is in the transfer portal, but he did say in his announcement tonight that UNLV is a possibility for him to return. He just wants to explore his options, and I'm sure he'll hear from a lot of different places that want to bring him in. Like I said, if you watch the games and paid very close attention, there was something going on, and there was definitely times during the season that he seemed to be calling out Jenkins. Mm-hmm. He moved him to the bench for a while. He definitely would say things after the game that led you to believe that he had a problem with Jenkins. So it makes sense. But like you said, like the specifics of it and the I don't like coaching you anymore. Holy shit. It's just mean. Right. Jenkins is not only a really good player, and I know that people, had a problem with some of his inconsistencies this year and failure to, I know T.J. Otzelberger kind of talked about his failure to kind of take over games, assert himself, be a leader when they needed a possession to kind of take control and get it, because I think that's what T.J. Otzelberger thought he had in a guy that he brought with him from South Dakota State, sat out a year with the team. But yeah, as you're saying there, like it was clear from watching games, watching the substitution patterns, watching how what T.J. Otzelberger said after games. Like it was clear there was an issue there, but this is just as strong as I far stronger than I ever thought would come out.
Yep.
Kind of surprising there.
All right. From one coach who's, let's say it seems like is kind of a dick, right? To another coach who seems like, you know what, maybe they're kind of a dick. And we're talking about Baylor coach Kim Mulkey, potentially.
Yes.
Whoever didn't see this, Kim Mulkey, of course, after Baylor in the Final Four talking about this, saying that I don't think my words will matter, but after the games today and tomorrow, there are 4 teams left on the men's side and the women's side. They need to dump the COVID testing. Wouldn't it be a shame to keep COVID testing and then you get kids that end up testing positive or something, and then they don't get to play in the Final Four? So you need to just forget the COVID test and let the 4 teams that are playing in each Final Four go to battle it out. Who cares if they potentially give their older parents a disease that could kill them?
Okay, this is bad because I think I'm right, but I could be totally wrong, and it would show that it's a clear sexism. They lost, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, like who the fuck cares what she says?
Now, it was a generally controversial loss. I will pull up I don't know if you saw that, the final foul at the end. I'll pull up the sequence, but continue.
I just saw people trashing Paige for not going to get the ball, like not being assertive late in the game, forgetting maybe she is a freshman in an elite game, I guess. But no, she's not correct. She's just not. I mean, I kind of like what she is saying essentially is, because we've talked about this before, of sure, if you were going to say these kids are never going to see anybody again and they're going to be isolated and you want to keep them in the bubble for another 3 weeks, I might kind of like listen to you. Like I might be like, okay, but how much are people going to fight back against that? Like, okay, you know what? We're gonna do this. If you get COVID, you can stay in here, get everybody else COVID, whatever. I hate it, but like, okay, if you're gonna make that argument, I can at least listen to you. But you're forgetting that when the players leave, they are actually going to go back to their homes, back to their cities, back to other people. They're going to probably see coaches. They're going to see their coaches. Their coaches are there. Their coaches are with their families.
I would love if Kim would have said that. Ended the quote like, just let God sort it out. Let's go.
She's the worst.
Survival of the fittest.
But by the way, I also, this is so dumb, but it really made me laugh today because I was waiting to put in my contest ticket because you have to go into stations to put it in every time, and so I don't usually go into sportsbooks anymore and like wait in line. But I had to today, and there was a guy putting in. He was trying to put in 8-teamers, but he only
as you do.
He only had like 5 written down on like 10 different 5-teamer. And then he's like, all right, so we'd go like 704, 716, 718, 722, and he's like, how many is that? And they'd be like 5. Like, all right, let me throw on. And he's just like, okay, bro.
Looking up at the board.
Yeah, it took so long, and then he had like 7 teams, and he goes, why don't you throw UConn on there minus the 5? UConn's girls care about basketball. Baylor's girls just care about looking good out there. I was like, okay. I don't even what do you mean? I have no idea what you're talking about. It made me think about it when I saw there's a lot of hair in this photo. But I was like, okay, dude, like you're not winning. First of all, I already know that one lost because they didn't cover 5. I think that was the number in this game or whatever it was.
Well, this was, you could tell because this was the potential game-winning shot with 3 seconds left. And I don't know about you. There looks like there's some contact there.
Was it a 1-point game?
1 or 2, I believe. I will get the final score on that for you.
Because I thought they were up 1. They were up 1, and then I think Baylor missed this shot, and then they fouled again, and they won by 2, I think is what happened.
So you're looking to find the video.
But yeah, that appears to be a foul, and you certainly couldn't say she's vertical. Like, that's, arms straight up. No, they weren't. You can see in that photo they're not.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it is 68-67 with 8.6 left to go. Baylor's got the ball. You can see this little orange thing right here.
Thank you.
Let's see what happens. All right, there you go. Beat your. Oh, yeah.
Now,
So down.
I don't
Down.
listen. You're not going to the rim. Kim's not happy there. She screamed at COVID. You're not going to the rim. You're fading away. Like I don't love the situation to have to call a foul there. But if it's a foul, it's a foul. It certainly looks like it on the still shot.
It's a good suit though.
It's good mask, Kim. Hoaxer. Just,
there you go. Here's a better angle.
I mean, yeah, I feel like
that angle doesn't look as egregious, right? I mean, in slow motion, that looks pretty egregious.
Yeah.
She definitely brings her hands down. Like you could totally see
the arms. Definitely, she's not vertical at all.
Right.
You see, she's coming straight forward there, and the body. I mean, look at the body. It's
right.
It's all over. So yeah, but again, the refs only get to see it once. They see it in real time. I know they're terrified of making the wrong call, but the wrong call, if there's a foul, then the wrong call is a no call, right? I mean, that's the bottom line. Like when people say let them play or let the players decide. Well, the players did decide. They decided to foul.
Right.
That's what happened. So yeah, that's a foul, and she should have got free throws.
All right, let's take one last crack at this. The baseline angle is a lot better. Let's see. There's your girl. She's just really upset. She's like, wow, some of these girls might not be able to play in the next round. This is really troubling me. See, that angle doesn't look very bad.
No.
It's the straight like baseline right here. You can clearly see the impact from her body. That's a foul.
Running forward.
You can see the ripples in her body. You can see the ripples of the impact in this girl's body.
That's a foul.
Look at this. Boink. She moves backwards. Yeah. She totally moves backwards. Yeah. I got a very angry. I just retweeted the video. Yeah, she did look. She got mugged. Flop. I don't think that's a flop, truthfully. I think video evidence says otherwise. But I got like a really angry response, like Baylor was mugging him all night long, and I was like, all right, I don't have a dog in the fight. I was just retweeting the video. I'm sorry about that, bro.
Did you watch 1 second of that game?
That one, no. Yeah, technically.
Right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah.
But live, no. I actually tried. Like I tried to, because I had obviously my computer on the NCAA on the men's game.
Yeah.
And I tried to put my phone on the women's game, but it was having all kinds of problems loading. I was like, I'm done. I don't even want to do this anymore. Like if it was a guys game, like I would have probably figured it out. But I was like, I'm good. Staying right here. Oh, look at this guy.
All right, last thing, you're going to get kicked out here in a couple minutes. I'm just going to put this up. I don't have anything else to say.
It is a T-Mobile phone. So.
38, 11, and 13.
Is that good?
Our boy. I don't say our boy. My boy. You're in, though, right? You're in on the MVP train.
Yeah, I don't like this cartoon drawing of him, though.
StatMuse does this all the time, where they just have, like, cartoon drawings of people.
His hair is not – I don't think his hair is accurate. Look at that. Is that the Queen?
It's Queen Elizabeth.
What is she doing on there?
Whoever this person is.
Wait, which one?
The wizard?
Oh, yeah. Why is there a wizard?
I don't know. See, this is Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. There was one that they put up one time, and I was just like, I have no idea who this person is.
Wait, what was Evan Fournier's debut? Was it?
Oh boy, it was terrible. Look at this.
Oh no!
Dude, there was one point he was 0 of 7 from the floor, and he got like a wide open transition attempt. Right, like it was just him. Like he was all by himself, but he went too hard at the rim and it back ironed on a layup. Oh, it was so brutal. It was just one of those nights where just nothing was going down for him. It was pretty bad.
Yeah. So, thanks to Willie too. Sam Thomas is in the Final Four for Arizona. So if you want a rooting interest for the female tournament, the women's tournament, Arizona is the choice. Anyone but UConn, I think is the choice.
I'm down.
Evan Fournier, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, dude, it was so bad.
What an acquisition! Way to go, Evan Fournier, summer league hero, by the way. I think he played like 3 summer leagues. It was awesome every time. Is Harden now the favorite to win MVP?
No, he's not. Unfortunately, still Let's pull this up. At most spots, Jokic is still the favorite. But he has moved in at the Westgate. He's for sure moved within the top 3. Westgate had the shortest price at plus 350. A couple of days ago, they took a couple $2,000 bets on him at, was it 9-1 or 6-1? One of the two. And right now, I think he's at plus 350. The DraftKings Sportsbook, let's go over here. Awards has him at plus 650.
Yes, Gandalf actually made a couple shots for the Celtics. That wizard that was in the he made 2 threes.
I mean, Connor, he's been playing with Kyrie off and on, and his stats have not gone down. He's still the league leader in assists and minutes played per game. But he's absolutely incredible.
He's only good because of Durant.
If I hear one more time, like I saw one was like, he's on a super team. And it's like, Tyler Johnson is like a main role player for them. Like, what are we doing? Can we watch the games and see what's happening here? They're using Bruce Brown as a power forward, and it's like working extremely well. But like, come on.
That's a Mountain West legend you're talking about there, Joe.
Dude, it's been ridiculous. Again, look, I've talked about this a lot, but the Nets are in contention for the first overall seed, and they could still potentially get it. They're not sniffing it without James Harden. They're not getting anywhere close to it without James Harden. How good they've been and how good he's been, it's ridiculous. But that's just me.
By the way, Lakers got 2 like sneaky okay wins. Like they needed to win those games at home. They were favored in both. Yeah. They needed those wins. They need every win that they could get, and they fell behind in both games. I actually live bet them. I still don't really bet NBA, but I will live bet when there's a game on. And yesterday they were down 5 with 7 minutes left, and they were like plus $2 to win the game. What are we doing? It was nice.
Well, they stink. I mean, obviously they got the big wins, but I think was that the who they played the other? I can't remember. Orlando. Was that the game you're talking about, dude? But they closed. They were like weren't they like a pre-flop? Were they in the range of like a 6.5, 7-point favorite?
Yeah.
Oh my god, ridiculous. On this team, by the way. So you want it's not like a secret or anything, but you want a nerdy basketball thing to watch in the NBA from now on?
Yes.
The Pelicans have started to use Zion as like a point guard. It's fucking incredible, dude.
That doesn't seem like a good move.
Dude, no, he's been insane. Like his frequency of run pick and rolls has been up over the last month, and he's actually like a sneaky good passer. He's been nuts. He only had 3 assists today. He's had at least 5 and I think 4 straight coming into tonight. But again, tonight, like 28, 11 to 22 shooting. He's fucking nuts, dude. The way he operates around the rim.
What is Lonzo doing?
He didn't play today. He got hurt.
Okay.
He's got a little hip injury. You want to see Rookie of the Year odds, LB Pickle? Let's go look. Let's go check it out really quickly before Adam's about to get kicked out.
Yeah. They told me 5 minutes ago. So.
Oh, all right. We'll get this done quick. Let's see. Rookie of the Year odds. This is just one book, so we'll have to shop around and see what's going on. Anthony Edwards minus 139, LaMelo Ball plus 175, Tyrese Halliburton 2-1, and then quickly at 20-1. So those are your top 3 choices. I am still going to bet LaMelo Ball. I'm just going to wait till the last day.
Cool. All
right. Well, Adam's going to get out of here. We're going to cut this one short. We appreciate you all for tuning in as always. We will be back next Monday. Quinn Snyder, we'll see. Tom Thibodeau's got a good shot, but Quinn Snyder's a very good option as well. All right, boys and girls, thank you very much. We'll see you.
See you guys.